You are now listening to Extreme Cinema with Andrew Legank and David Lawler. If you like sex and violence, evil brunettes, and angelic blondes, then stick with us as we debate some of the best and worst of action and exploitation filmmaking.
Oh, hi, Andrew.
Oh, hi, Dave.
Oh, hi, Mark.
I got one for you. Are you ready for this? Now, think about this. Put this mental picture in your head. Harvey Weinstein masturbating while watching Rosie O'Donnell on her knees scrubbing a coffee stain out of a green shag carpet.
What the fuck? I can't do it. What? I can't. No, Dave. What the fuck?
Try to get that image out of your mind.
Yeah, thank you.
Oh, wow. And her shaking her big ass while she's doing it.
That's disgusting.
What's going on, you motherfucker?
Welcome to Extreme Cinema. I'm here with Andrew Legank, and we're going to talk about Tommy Wiseau, The Room, and all that, all the various adventures and incidents that have popped up over the years because of it. Well, at the time of this recording, it has been 1 year since I quit smoking. How about that? Woohoo! I want to thank our friend Noah Feinstein for shepherding me through this process. He was really fantastic. The guy should be a life coach. We got to figure out. He should start his own life coaching business because he's really good.
He could be a vape coach.
Vape coach.
Yeah, that could be a thing.
Vape coach. Yeah, I mean, try this instead of Chantix. Chantix is making people fucking insane. A man stabbed his wife to death in his sleep.
Wow.
And it was a side effect of the Chantix he was taking.
Imagine that something from Big Pharma doesn't work well and makes you psychotic. Who would have thought?
It all does, you know. I mean, it's like all the drugs. They don't go for any specific need that you might have. What they do is they go right to a section of your brain and start messing it up.
Just like, hey, yeah.
So today we're talking about the movie The Room, the book The Disaster Artist, and the movie that will be coming out based on The Disaster Artist, imaginatively titled The Disaster Artist, to be directed by James Franco, who will be playing the Tommy Wiseau part, and his brother Dave Franco will be playing the Craig Sestero part.
What do we got?
A Perfect World.
These are for you.
Thanks, honey. They're beautiful.
A Perfect Life.
I would do anything for my girl.
I love you, Lisa.
I love you, Johnny.
He provides for you. Darling, you can't support yourself.
I don't love him anymore. He didn't get his promotion. And he got drunk last night. And he hit me.
It's not true. I did not hit her.
Well, maybe you should have a girl, Mark. Yeah, maybe you're right. Maybe I have one already. I don't know yet. We can't do this anymore. Johnny's my best friend. This will be our secret.
Don't worry. You can trust me.
We are expecting.
I'm your future husband.
You sure about that?
Please talk to me, please.
You're having an affair with Lisa, aren't you?
I need more from life than what Johnny can give me.
She's a sociopath. She can't love anyone.
There is no baby. I told him that to make it interesting.
She's such a manipulative witch.
You're hurting yourself. You're hurting our friendship.
I treat you like a princess, and you stab me in the back.
You are tearing me apart, Lisa.
Hey, Danny.
Where's my money, Danny?
Put the gun down.
What the hell is wrong with you? Shut up.
Hey, I'm fed up with this world.
The Room, a film with the passion of Tennessee Williams, directed by Tommy Wiseau. The best movie of the year. Experience this quirky new black comedy. It's a riot.
Craig Sestero wrote the book The Disaster Artist, and I read it. I got through it in about it took me 2 weeks because I used to be able to read a lot faster, but these days I got a house to take care of and a child, so it's and I have to make dinner every night. So
I know what you mean. It doesn't do a lot for reading time. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. I used to read like a mofo back in the days when I had to take like the Metro North to work. I would go through one book every 3 days, and I ran out of books to read.
Yeah, I know. I used to read a lot, and really, I just don't have the time anymore.
So this is a very interesting book. I have a lot of issues with it. I have a lot of issues with the book itself as a vehicle for the storytelling, and I have a lot of issues with Craig Sestero, who quote unquote wrote it, but not in reality because it was written with Tom Bissell, who is an actual writer. So I think what happened was Tom was sitting at a table and he's like got a notepad and a pen. He's like, okay, Greg, tell me your story. And Greg just sits there pontificating.
I don't know. Is that really fair to assume that?
He's not. No, I'm sorry, Andrew. He is not a brain trust. He does not have. He really. I mean, like. Well, we'll get into Sestero, but my belief is that the man was dumber than a bag of hammers.
I mean, that's possible, but I thought that the way the book was put together, whether he wrote it or the other guy wrote it, was very self-deprecating and I didn't see him as self-deprecating at all. I felt like he was on a mission to become an actor. You know what I did find impressive about the book? Okay, what I did find interesting about the book was the narrative, the way it was set up.
Hi, babe. I have something for you.
What is it?
Just a little something.
Johnny, it's beautiful. Thank you. Can I try it on now?
Sure, it's yours.
You wait right here. I'm gonna try it on right now.
Mm-hmm.
He starts to, the way the book is written, he starts to tell the story of how he met Tommy. Then he starts a new chapter about the beginning of the making of The Room, and then it goes on like that. So it's like every other chapter is a different story.
Right.
So I found that interesting. If once I got into it, like maybe halfway through, I was beginning to understand, oh, this is how he's telling the story.
Right.
So it's like, good thinking. So what I really wanted to talk about was that the main takeaway from it is that the truth always wants to come out, even as you shape the narrative to fit your needs, and the disaster artist is a prime example. Sestero paints himself as naive, unable to communicate with people, including his girlfriend. Financially, he's a kept man, either by people like Tommy Wiseau or his family, or backwards stumbling into fortune, and he seems to be like incredibly attractive.
That's right.
That's sort of how he's trying to set his character up. But with every claim that he makes, there's like 100 stories he's not telling to back up that claim. And I thought some of the stuff, Bronwyn started reading the book after I finished it because she's trying to get it into her book club because it's been like suggested 100 times that they get it into the book club. So she's reading it anyway because she's curious, and she has had to deal with a number of pitfalls being a struggling actor back in those days, especially back in those days, 2003. It's extremely difficult to get an acting, especially in New York.
Yeah,
I wouldn't know much about the process of California, but I'm betting that again, it's sort of like the California that we read about, where they just play games with you.
Right.
And he has, I don't understand this. He has something called a print agent. I've never heard. I assume a print agent is somebody who specializes in print whatever
media.
that is.
Yeah, no, he was a model. That's in the book.
But the thing is, he tells this print agent tells him he needs a headshot. He needs some kind of tape. He needs pictures. I mean, like it's like how did he manage to get a print agent without having any of those things?
Because he was a model. Like he looked good and he did modeling. It's in the book. There's pictures.
I saw the pictures, but what I'm not understanding is how he doesn't know this. How does he not know this?
Well, I don't know. It's just standard shit that your agent tells you that anyway. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, but nobody.
It's super important part of the book.
But this is a very important part of the book because it shows just how kind of dumb he is. This isn't the Dark Ages. How does he have an agent at all without these two very important components? I look at his IMDb and his Wikipedia, and he has very, very few credits.
He does.
And the majority of them are after The Room came out. He had no experience of any quantity or quality in any part of the industry. And
I think he acknowledges
by that point,
in the book, and that's part of what he's trying to convey by saying all the things that you just said that he said, which is really, if he was not looking to be self-deprecating, looking to puff himself up, then he wouldn't be telling people that he's basically, as you put, a kept man. That he wouldn't be telling people how naive he is. I think I see in there some real honesty coming from him, which is actually a rare thing coming from an LA actor. Like, I don't know. It's just my take on it.
the one thing that I think is truthful in his description of working in that business or trying to get into that business in LA was just how idiotic people were around him in addition to him. And it just seems like a California loaded with inexperienced people trying to get their foot in the door. That is like the only success that you can count on. When by that point you couldn't get an agent. In like 2003, you could not get an agent. It used to be that agents like sought you out if they could sniff the talent. Now the roles have been reversed and talent now has to court the agents. So agents are now in the position to say no. So it's a miracle this guy gets an agent with no experience and no actual talent. You know? All
right.
I can't tell you how many times I've tried to get an agent. I mean, looking at me, based on my work, based on everything I've done, I've made movies, I've written books, I've written screenplays, I've written articles. I have so much in my credentials. I get in touch with agents, and they'll look at the first sentence of a book that I have written, and they'll say that I didn't like the first sentence, so I didn't even bother reading. So good luck, which it's like that. They're actually saying no to people who have talent.
Well, it's a different thing. First of all, looking for a literary agent versus an agent for actors.
It was the lady who wrote that 50 Shades of Grey.
Well, yeah. But she did all that shit on her own. She self-published that and got herself, promoted and
then that other one who wrote Twilight and people like J.K. Rowling. They can put sentences together, yes, but
yeah. Hey, look,
I think
has that not always been the way the world works? Some people are better at self-promoting themselves than others. Some people are better at networking. Some people are better at getting the agent to do what they want. Some people are just straight up lucky. That's the way it's always been.
Yeah, there's also this other rather unpleasant fact.
Yeah.
I was talking to my friend Eve, who was another kind of struggling actor in LA. She couldn't get an agent either. She couldn't find anybody. And she's a very talented woman, very beautiful too. She says to me, Dave, have you considered changing your name to sound like you're a female? Because they seem to be hiring females now for everything. And I'm like, oh, shit. This is a woman telling me this.
Yeah, just identify as a female. You'll be fine.
Oh, if I identified as a female, that would be fantastic.
Yeah, they're hiring trannies now.
If you can identify as a Filipino, then I guess you can do that too.
Yeah, sure.
I was thinking about this. The book does a fantastic job of documenting Sestero's narcissism, even as he consciously pleads his case that Tommy is the true narcissist, which I don't really think he is.
Really
Tommy Wiseau, no, I do not. I do not. Okay. Tommy's the boss of his movie, but we don't get to the movie part until the end of the book where he actually, he doesn't really cover that story. He doesn't cover exactly when The Room stops being a play that Tommy's working on to becoming a movie. But we do get all the fill-in-the-blank moments of him just sort of, he has the cameras, he has everything ready to roll. Nobody else is going to make Tommy the star that he wants to be. Tommy really wants to be a movie star. He wants to be James Dean for some reason, right? And I think Craig Sestero covets Tommy's easy access to money and his ability to buy his fame or infamy, as the case may be. But I came away from the book believing that Greg wanted Tommy's isolation and his emotional pedestal, and I think he seriously envies Tommy Wiseau. That he was not speaking out of respect. He was not speaking out of affection. He was speaking out of jealousy in a way whenever he was talking about Tommy.
See, now I don't assign that kind of motive to him at all. I thought that he was that he seemed to me the way what I took from it, and I wouldn't have liked the book if I didn't feel this way, was that he came from a place of great admiration for Tommy, because there's a great deal that he admires, and there's also a great deal he doesn't like at all, and that he finds humorous and finds annoying and embarrassing. But there's also this part of Tommy that he finds immensely inspiring, and so he showed us both. There's also the mystery of who really is Tommy Wiseau, and all of that sort of wrapped up together. And to me, I really thought that Sestero kind of idolized him because of his ability to rise above the base level actors Just on that was the reason why, even though I don't think he spelled it out very, very well, but the reason why he wanted to do a scene with him in his acting class was because this guy's different. He comes from he comes in here and he has all of this confidence. It's like, where does it come from? Why can't I have this? And so in that respect,
and that's because he's flat as a pancake.
Covetous of it, but he recognizes it and he wants to learn from it. He wants to know why this guy has it now, and there's nothing wrong with that. That doesn't make him a bad guy, it just.
Well, I think he deludes himself to his ability. Greg is not a good actor.
Hi, how you doing?
I'm fine. Come in. Have a seat.
Thank you.
It's hot in here. Do you mind?
No. I mean, the candles, the music, the sexy dress. I mean, what's going on here?
I like you very much. Lover boy.
What are you doing this for?
What's the matter? Don't you like me? I'm your girl.
Johnny's my best friend. All right, you're gonna be married next month. Come on.
Forget about Johnny. This is between you and me.
I saw him in another. There was another movie when he said in the book he was in Retro Puppet Master, which was a new Puppet Master movie for Charles Band's company, right?
Yeah.
He plays a young Andre Toulon. I looked at a little bit of that, and I was thinking, okay, maybe Tommy's a terrible director and he just doesn't know how to get his actors together to deliver a performance. He's terrible in the movie. He's absolutely terrible in this movie. All of these other people, you don't really see them around, so it's like, there's only so much you can blame on Tommy, but a lot of it does have to do. I mean, he spends way too long auditioning these people. I don't really understand that either. He spends months auditioning. Process,
if Tommy was a better director, maybe he wouldn't have hired the people that he hired.
There is that. Yes, there is that.
If he was,
that's a very good point. But
and then there's this enigma of Tommy, which Sestero also spells out. This weird, these contradictory sides of Tommy Wiseau, where the man who's so passionate, who's been in this car accident and decided that he's going to make this movie, he's so passionate, so excited about it, that he fucking shows up 3 hours late every day.
Well, yeah, that's because he wants to be the center of attention. He either consciously or subconsciously wants everyone to be thinking about him,
right?
Either in a negative or a positive way.
But he's not a narcissist in this. Sestero is?
No, Sestero is definitely the narcissist because it's always about how he reacts to things, and he thinks things are being done wrong.
Book, man, he's writing a book. Who the fuck else is he supposed to see?
But he's always thinking about what he would do, and the answer is he wouldn't do anything because he doesn't know a damn thing. He doesn't know a damn thing about making movies. He's writing this book. All these people involved, okay? This is the one thing that really got under my skin. And I will say, okay, Bronwyn kind of agrees with you a little bit about this. I mean, I was talking to her about this, and I was talking about her about my immense dislike for Sestero. And Bronwyn was like, I don't really see anything wrong with him and all this and that. And we, we talked about the weirdo Tommy Wiseau, and then the kind of how difficult it is to become a working actor. I mean, it is extremely difficult. And these people should be very grateful that they got to work on this movie instead of the way they behave. This is what really pissed me off, is that Sestero keeps telling us that the crew is made up of professionals. Not only professionals, they're paid. They're paid. Yet they behave as though they don't know how movies are made, how to even make the most rudimentary movie, operating a camera, purchasing wardrobe, applying makeup. It's a low-budget movie. And my reasoning is that every time Wiseau asks them to do something, they just stare at him blankly as though his head is on fire. Deer caught in headlights.
Because he was asking them to do crazy shit that didn't make any sense.
I did that too. I make movies, and I made movies for no money, and people jumped over the moon for me. These people come over like morons for me.
So,
I mean,
so let's say you give your costume director, like your costume designer, like $0 to like do her job, and she basically comes up with the best that she can do, and your guy in a scene has one suit. And you get the bright fucking idea that you're going to dump water on him in that scene. Is that something that you should just do? Or is that something that somebody should speak up and say, that's not going to work?
No. That's not how I direct. That's not how I direct. I'll fill in the audience. I usually handle the costumes myself because when I'm writing a script, I like to know what these people are going to wear. So we actually, I go out there and I go to, I went to, discount clothing stores, places where you can get clothing.
Point of what I'm saying. If
you're but that's what I did. That's what I did.
Utter jackass and doing something fucking ridiculously stupid. Would you prefer that somebody say something or somebody just go along with it?
Well, no, but that's not how I direct though. If I had a costume department, I would be like, okay, this is what we're looking at. I'd sit down with these people. Tommy doesn't do that. This is his first movie. He doesn't quite know what he's doing, but the thing is, he's the boss. You do what the boss tells you to do when you're getting paid.
Throw the water and then wait for the shit to dry for the rest of the day.
Well, whatever it is. I mean, it's like, yeah, he's going to have to wait, but but the thing about it is, it's better that you learn than having some dickhead like Sandy telling you, oh, they're going to get wet. Shut the fuck up, Sandy. It's my movie.
Hi, Mom. How are you?
I'm fine. How are you? Okay, let's go to the couch and we will sit down. Now, what's happening with you?
Nothing much. Do you want some coffee?
What's wrong? Tell me.
I'm not feeling good today.
Why not?
I don't love him anymore.
Why don't you love him anymore? Tell me.
He's so boring.
Well, you've known him for over 5 years. You're engaged. You said you loved him. He supports you. He provides for you. And darling, you can't support yourself. He's a wonderful man, and he loves you very much. And his position is very secure. And he told me he plans to buy you a house.
That's why he's so boring.
Well, what are you going to do?
I don't know. I don't mind living with him.
Well, you can't do that. Have you talked to him about it?
No. I don't know what to do.
It's like if I had a guy like him on, oh my God, I've had some people sometimes, occasionally, but we'll talk about that in a minute. But now Sestero, okay, this is where I get this. He defines Tommy's ambition as blind, unhinged, and totally unfounded. And I thought that was a weird, subjective thing to say about somebody you don't really know. I mean, he doesn't. My main problem is Sestero thinks he's got them all figured out, being a weirdo or something like that, but he knows next to nothing about this guy. He's very mysterious.
He knows more about Tommy Wiseau than just about anybody in the world,
except maybe his family.
Yeah, but he knows, and he knew him for 5 years before The Room was ever even shot. And then,
but what he knew,
known him ever since. They know each other. I would say, really, and here in the United States, he's the one who knows Tommy Wiseau the best.
After a while, it took a little while, but there were still certain. He only knew very few things about him. What did he know? He knew that he had money.
Right.
He had access to money. He dyed his hair.
Yeah.
He did a lot of curls on a bar and to make himself really cut and ripped and everything. Right.
Yeah.
He wanted to be an actor. He was, I guess people like laughed at him or something, and maybe Tommy picked up on that. So Tommy was kind of an isolationist, I guess. Tommy didn't want anyone to know anything about him. I found that
secretive.
Fascinating.
There's an interest. It would make a great documentary for somebody to go and call it. Heather and I were talking about it, like how cool it would be to do a documentary called "Finding Tommy Wiseau" and go and figure out who the fuck he is, where he made his money, where he's from, and who his family is, and what his life story is. Because I think he's fascinating.
He tries to take toward the end of the book. Greg starts to try and take a stab at what Tommy is, that he was like born behind the Iron Curtain.
Yeah.
Slips into France, sort of makes up a fake identity, earns some money. He's tortured. He's probably beaten by people accusing him of being a communist.
He does
or
have
something.
scars and all kinds of weird stuff. It's like his face obviously has been, he's been hurt by something.
Yeah. Well, he was in 2 car accidents, right? He was hit by a car.
He was, yeah.
And another time he was, I don't know, he was in a car or something.
He was in a near fatal car accident, and that was and him surviving that was the thing that made him say, I'm going to do this thing that I always wanted to do, which is make this movie. And I totally respect that and think it's a great thing. And I love that he did it. I think it's great.
Well, let's get into the movie for a sec.
Yeah.
When was the first time you saw The Room?
I don't know, about 5 or 6 years ago. I saw it with riff tracks. And I love riff tracks, and I had downloaded it just because it was a riff tracks. I had no other frame of reference about it at all.
There's a crazy funny joke there, or something about they're saying, why didn't you tell Johnny this? And she says, I was going to, but he kept greeting me. I thought that was fantastic. And riff tracks is really good.
They call what's her name, Lisa, the bloated Britney Spears, which is
yeah. That's what. Bronwyn said that. She didn't even see the riff tracks. We were watching it. I showed it for her 2 weeks ago, I think. We watched it 2 weeks ago, and she's like, she looks a little like Britney Spears. I was like, I don't know, man. I mean, she didn't look like her. I felt like she was, she was.
She looks like the bloated corpse of Britney Spears.
For me, for my money, her friend, Michelle, is the cute one. I mean, I think she's the cute one. And actually, she's the one who caused no problem. Michelle is indicative, the way Greg very briefly describes her. Michelle is very indicative of the actors that I worked with. They were happy to be there. They didn't make waves. They had questions. You answered. They were very nice. Everybody else in the set, Robin Paris is her name, the actress who plays her. Mm-hmm. And she's part of our favorite scene, mine and Bronwyn's favorite scene in the movie. The one that actually, finally, it took a little while for Bronwyn to get into the movie because she wasn't understanding the flow and the rhythm of it. Because when you're told for years that this is like one of the worst movies ever, you kind of set yourself up for things, and you're kind of waiting for that. You're kind of waiting, okay, what is going to make this the worst movie in the world? It's an unusual. I wouldn't call it the worst movie ever made. There are so many other movies that are far worse than this.
No, it's not the worst movie ever made, but it's painful in a lot of spots. I have to say though that just put this in there, even though it's sort of unrelated. The riff tracks version where they cut the love scenes out is the best version to watch if somebody's interested in watching The Room.
Why would they cut them out? I mean,
because you don't want to listen to them they do that thing with the disembodied voice and all that, and it's annoying. And the love scenes are disgusting, and you don't want to look at Tommy Wiseau's ass or this fat chick and like. Well,
it's interesting that they cut that because you do pay. I mean, you pay for the riff tracks, right? So if you pay for the riff tracks, then you should get the full movie. During one of the love scenes, there's a song called "You Are My Rose," and Bronwyn kept hearing "You Are Pot Roast." You are pot roast, you are pot roast, you are pot roast. And she's like, are they saying you are pot roast? Because that didn't make any sense. But anyway, so Michelle is in our favorite part. The one that had Bronwyn like actually laughing really loudly was the surprise party. He comes in, he says, what a beautiful party. You invited all my friends. Good.
What's going on here? Why are you doing this?
I love him.
I don't believe it.
You don't understand anything, man. Leave your stupid comments in your pocket.
Do you understand what you're doing? You're going to destroy Johnny. He's very sensitive.
I don't care. I'm in love with Mark.
How can you do this? You make me sick.
Hey!
Thank you, honey. This is a beautiful party. You invited all my friends. Good thinking.
You're welcome, darling. You know how much I love you.
That had her. Finally, she got in the mood. I mean, like she got in the mood when she saw that.
Lost it with "Oh hi doggy." That was the one that
hi doggy.
Hi.
Can I help you?
Yeah, can I have a dozen red roses, please?
Oh, hi, Johnny. I didn't know it was you. Here you go.
That's me. How much is it?
It'll be $18.
Here you go. Keep the change. Hi, doggy.
You're my favorite customer.
Thanks a lot. Bye.
Bye-bye.
die.
That whole thing. I mean, I don't understand. There's so many things wrong. But that this professional crew. I mean, you can. I mean, a truly professional crew would not allow a lot of the stuff that's going on, and they can just do it without getting involved with Tommy. Make sure the focus is. Scenes were out of focus. They had to dub in all of the dialogue practically, and I'm like, really? I mean, with this crew, he had a crew.
He did have a crew, but I mean, I can offer a little bit of guidance on that. I think the attitude as to how professional the movie's going to look comes from the top, and when the guy from the top doesn't really care if you finish the scene with the same actor, and doesn't care about the wardrobe, doesn't care about all of the little things, doesn't care about the continuity, then what the fuck do you care about whether it's in focus or not?
Well, there's that, but there's also that so many.
He set.
But what about the first movie?
Is the one who sets that tone, and people follow that tone, and he's also the one who set the tone of doing something crazy like putting a bathroom in the middle of the studio and stuff like that. That does not garner him respect with the people that work under him. He is the one who created that environment where that respect doesn't exist. He didn't command the respect or act like he deserved it, and that is why he didn't receive it.
I don't know that I completely agree. As long as there's a paycheck, I'm kind of like Winston Zeddemore in Ghostbusters. I'll do anything you want. It's like, you give me respect when you pay me for my work. I like that. And if he's paying me and I'm working on his film, I will go to hell and back with him. And there is one guy who actually does, finally. There's one guy after, like, one crew walks out. And then another crew of these piece of shit film students who ought to be grateful they're getting this job. They walk out, and then there's this one guy who says, "I'll shoot your movie. I'll shoot the rest of your movie for you," and he just does it. I mean, that's what you want to hear. You want to hear that. I mean, you want respect. Respect works both ways. I'm going to work with you. I'm going to
work ethic, but I also, I mean, you know, Tommy is the one who sets the tone of I don't give a shit about the small stuff, and I don't care. And when he doesn't care, he's the one at the top. He's the boss, and when the boss doesn't care, why should the people under him care?
Well, that's a job, and you want to be able to do something that you can sleep at night knowing it's out there. And you want, and also,
you're already working on something
if
that
you're
you know
a director,
is horrible.
When you're working on $100 million movie, you can't sweat the small details. There's simply too many details. You have to leave it to those people to do that job. If you're working on $100 million, and $100 million
well,
movie
that's
is
when
the
you
same
delegate.
as $6 million.
That's when you delegate. He wasn't doing that either. Like that's a different. That's a different thing. Delegating responsibility to underlings is a very different thing than just saying fuck it and not caring about it. Because all that does is set a tone.
I think a lot of it was that he couldn't understand them. As good as he was with English is as good as he was with understanding English. So I think a lot of times he was like,
He's like, you know, I think I have great respect for Tommy Wiseau, and I like what he did, and I feel for him, and I have great empathy for everything he's been through with how his movie has been received. But I have to disagree with you. I mean, this guy kind of got what he deserved from his crew. I
don't think he did, because I never made a movie for that kind of money. That money might as well be $1 billion to me. I generally make a movie around a situation that I know I can easily control. I have a very small crew, and my crew members have gone on to do wonderful things, and they've actually, you know, they learned a lot by working with me, and a lot of actors had. A lot of actors, unfortunately, they couldn't really translate success on the West Coast, so a lot of them didn't. But a lot of the newer actors that I worked with recently are doing very well, and they have much more understanding of the process from working with me.
But is your attitude about shooting your movie like, I don't give a fuck, it doesn't matter?
No.
I'll show up when I show up. I want you there. I want you there at 8:00 in the morning, but I'll just get there when I want to. Like all of those things.
No, I never did that.
Set a tone and say that it just creates an environment that doesn't lend itself to people giving you the respect that you're supposed to get. It just doesn't.
Yeah, but I've seen so much more money wasted than the $6 million he wasted, but he didn't actually waste it because it's making money now. But I've seen more movies destroyed by that for a lot when the stakes were a lot higher. You know, there are some movies that are just absolute, completely not redeemable in the slightest. I'm thinking of what was it? There's like these. Remember these parodies? These supposedly funny comedy parodies that were coming out, like Date Movie and Epic Movie.
Yeah, those are fucking terrible, all of them.
Oh, but those were fucking and money was spent and crews and people cared, and it still turned out to be crap. So I mean, it's like that's how I saw it. Well, I want to say, okay, the first time I saw The Room was on Adult Swim. It was Cartoon Network's late night cartoon block, back when it was really good. I used to watch every night.
All right.
But I used to watch it when they had the good programming, like Aqua Teen and Home Movies and C-Lab and stuff like that, Family Guy reruns.
I always stopped after Futurama and Family Guy.
But it was April 1st, 2009, April Fool's Day. And I thought it was a joke because they ran it all night. They even ran it with the sex scenes. They just blocked it out, you know. They put little black blocks everywhere. It looked like, what it looked like to me was a sexy crime thriller from the 90s. That's what it looked like to me, because it was all like, I was like looking at the sex scenes and listening to the music and the saxophone and the slow dissolves and all this kind of stuff. And I'm like, but these people don't look like actors. I think that was my thing that I was thinking about when I was thinking about Lisa. The actress who plays Lisa doesn't look like an actress.
Right.
She doesn't look like, I don't know, who Sharon Stone, or who else?
Kim Basinger.
Final
Analysis.
Yeah, that kind of shit. And then you're looking at Tommy, he's got his long hair. The only person who looks appropriate is, the two people who look appropriate in the movie are Greg and Robin Paris, who plays Michelle. They're the only people that look appropriate for the movie.
Right.
And everybody else just looks completely out of place, even though one of the better actors, I think, in that is the guy who played the psychologist, Peter, who disappears. He disappears after 3/4 of the movie, and his dialogue is rewritten for another guy who comes in. I'm thinking that it's sort of like it seems like it's like a foreigner, I'm going to use that word, foreigner's interpretation of what American movies are like. This is what he thinks it is.
Yeah.
Right? It's like he took a whole bunch of spaghetti and threw it against the wall. And the stuff that stuck to the wall was what he decided to make this movie into.
Yeah.
And
I agree with that.
It's like an immigrant's assessment of American culture. I'm like watching this and it's like, I can't watch this anymore. It made me so angry because I was like, I've had this discussion with you many times and with other people. There a lot of us out here bust our ass to try and make films, and we can't get them promoted. We can't get them seen, and it was really hard back then. Nowadays, you have YouTube, and you have many different kind of sources where you can put your movie and get it seen, and it doesn't cost as much to promote it. Back then, he was spending all his. I had no idea. I had no idea that he spent so much money of his own. He made this movie with his own money, and he promoted it with his own money.
Yeah, he did.
He put a billboard up. I mean, he knows. He actually has. He knows that you can promote something enough, and it will.
I would add something to that. It's not only an outsider's view of American culture; it's an outsider's view of culture in general, because he doesn't really fit in anywhere. Like I don't think that there's anywhere on the planet, even his home country, where Tommy Wiseau truly fits in. So he feels like my assessment of him and it comes through in The Room is that he's showing how he thinks people interact. He's never been able to be a part of it, and he wants to be, and you see that in his interaction with Greg, but he doesn't really know how, and it's kind of sad in that respect.
Maybe it's a little sad for Tommy, but in the end, everyone's going to remember who he is.
Yeah.
They might remember who Greg is.
That doesn't. Hey, listen, everybody can remember you, but it doesn't mean that you had a happy and fulfilling life.
I think that's all he wanted. I think all he wanted was to be remembered.
Well,
and he will be, and that's a good thing. I mean, like he got what he wanted.
I think he wanted more than that. I think it's taken a great deal of soul searching for him, for his movie that he thought was going to be one thing, to be received as something completely different, and to see it like revered the way it is terrific on the one hand, but on the other hand, here it is being laughed at, his passion being laughed at by everybody.
I think a lot of that celebration of the movie, that you just mentioned, it comes from hostility and mockery, because I don't know if I said this to you, but I think it stems, the movie and Tommy and the hostility for him comes from the very real fear that all of us have, that we secretly worry, we fear that we are Tommy Wiseau. Everyone has to worry about that at some point. Am I not as good as I think I am? Am I actually terrible at what I do? I remember seeing Kristen Bell on a late night talk show. I forget which one. She was merciless in her hatred of the film, but she continues to proclaim that she loves the film. She doesn't love that movie. She absolutely hates it, and she wants us to know that she's in on the joke of hating the movie. And I checked her IMDb, and she was in this horrible, horrible movie called Bad Moms with Mila Kunis.
Yeah.
And she was in Couples Retreat and Forgetting Sarah Marshall and The Boss. These are bad movies. They're terrible.
Any movie with Mila Kunis is horrible. Bad Moms wasn't that bad, but like anything with Mila Kunis, and that was one of the better Mila Kunis movies.
That was a terrible movie. But so movies that she's in, Kristen Bell, they don't give the studio, the studio doesn't give the production company any more than $40 million. So, I mean, like, they're obviously aware of her drawing power. And then the other celebrity fans who came out included like Paul Rudd, David Cross, Will Arnett, Patton Oswalt, Tim Heidecker, and Eric Wareheim, who got Tommy to direct one of their episodes of Tim and Eric's awesome show, Great Job. Seth Rogen, of course, James, and Dave Franco, who made The Disaster Artist. They've all made terrible movies, and they still have careers. Seth and James, I tried to watch the interview. I've really tried to watch that movie, but it is unwatchable for me.
I saw it on a plane, so I ended up sitting through it. But yeah, no, it wasn't very good.
This is what happens when you get high and are given access to film equipment. You make a movie like The Interview. And it was, I mean, I don't know what to believe, whether or not they
There was that other one that was even worse, that one where everybody's going to a party at James Franco's house. I can't remember what the name of that one was. That was way worse than
that one. I don't know.
The Interview.
They have to make Tommy Wiseau the Jesus Christ of modern filmmaking. I mean, we can say what we want, but The Room came from his heart. I'll give him that. It came from his heart.
Well, I'll also say this. I don't fear. I have zero fear whatsoever that I'm going to be Tommy Wiseau, and not because if I was Tommy Wiseau, I'd be a pretty lucky fucking guy. Tommy Wiseau has been extremely successful, apparently, in other elements of his life, and just because he made a movie that people think is funny when it wasn't supposed to be doesn't negate his other accomplishments. Nor does it make him some sort of defective human being. Can I say I found it very interesting that he bought his own equipment. They thought he was out of his fucking mind buying his own equipment. I buy my own equipment too. I don't like renting. To me, I mean, like, I try to buy as much equipment as I possibly can because it's mine and I can do whatever I want with it. And I spent a pretty penny on equipment back in the day. Right. I like using my own equipment. He bought a 35 millimeter camera, and he bought a fucking high def, and he bought all the lenses, which are crazy expensive. And I don't understand why he did that. I mean, I don't understand. He probably didn't know quite what, of course he didn't know what he was doing, but he didn't know what he was doing in terms of how he wanted to tell his story. Why would you buy a 35 millimeter camera and this top of the line for the time high def equipment? I mean, why would you do that, right? The only reason I could think of is that he didn't want to justify his credit or whatever to rent it. That's the only reason I can think of logically, other than.
But he had his own business.
He also is capable of. Well, maybe he didn't make his money in an honest way. We don't know what his business was. I mean, we know he owns real estate. We know that he did this clothing thing, but we don't know. What other things he was involved in.
Yeah. There's a couple of things in there that you're like you want to tell Tommy before it starts. He's like, you have a clothing store. Why don't you? Yeah. Dress up your characters in clothing that
from
you're
your
selling.
Store. Yeah, right. What up with
then
that?
There was another one toward the end where they're on the rooftop of the store, and he's like, "We could have shot this all up here." And he didn't want to do that. Instead, he wanted a green. The green. I don't use green screens. I hate them.
All right.
One time, I tried to use a green screen for a visual effect, and then we decided not to go because it just looked crappy. So we decided to just add the visual effect in a more practical way, and it looked fantastic for this one movie that we worked on. But these are first timer mistakes. It's like filmmaking 101. You learn a lot immediately. I mean, I think after that movie, if he had given himself the chance, I don't know why he hasn't done it again. He should. He really should. You should always be. You should always be making movies. He could get out there with cameras and he could do a whole bunch of stuff. That's one thing I'm going to say about Wiseau is that, no, he might put on a brave face and be this kind of weird, unintelligible kind of guy. He's extremely lacking in confidence. That's the one thing you actually really need. That's one thing that people can pick up on you. If they sense that you're not confident, they are going to pound you. And he gets pounded by his own fucking crew, which kills me. I can't believe that shit. Makes me so angry because they're being paid. They're being paid. And I'm going to keep harping on that.
Okay. Cool.
I mean, there's chaos on the set. And I'm not understanding the camera crew and their open revolt in public, in front of everybody.
I've explained. Yeah, he's building a bathroom in public. He's doing all the things that he's doing in public. He's showing up 4 hours late in public.
I don't give a shit. He's got the money. Fuck you. Do your job. But what the fuck should they care?
What, to come there for 4 fucking hours? You insist that I come there for 4 hours and fucking crack
4 hours. Oh my God. You know what?
And wait for you.
Actors.
So then you can get here and tell me to hurry up, man.
No. Gotta call bullshit. Actors are sitting around in makeup chairs for 14 hours before they even roll cameras. 14 fucking hours, but they're being paid, so they shut the fuck up. So, what do they care how he conducts his shoot? Greg Sestero is not a line producer, but everybody signed on and they're being paid. This is very important. I'll share a story with you. I had something close to a revolt when I was shooting a movie upstate in 2004. One actor, I'm not going to reveal his name because it's tacky. That's another thing Greg does. He names names. He shouldn't be doing that because it's not professional in that environment. But this one actor tries to rally all the other actors, but I found the production was divided into 2 camps. This particular actor and an actress he was trying to bang, he kept suggesting she break up with her boyfriend, which was fucking creepy. And the rest of the actors and crew, the owner of the property and his girlfriend at the time, were all on my side because they saw how hard I was busting my ass making this movie. This actor was so annoying that I had sleeping arrangements because it was a mansion, so there was plenty of space. And more than a few actors took me aside and said, listen, Dave, I know you have a lot to worry about, but I'm not sleeping in the same room with that guy, okay? So he was pissed that we shot only a third of the script in one day. On a 3-day shoot, the script was about 120 pages.
Right.
So the morning of the second day of the shooting, he starts in with this Norma Ray bullshit. And I expect that because I'm not paying these people, but I am feeding them. This is like a vacation. We're in a beautiful section of Sullivan County on the banks of the Delaware River on a 3-day weekend. And it's gorgeous, and it still pisses me off to this day. He didn't quit either. I mean, he didn't, storm off, but that was the second time he pissed me off. The first time was right before we were leaving to go. He didn't want to go because a hurricane was supposed to strike. And I told him we weren't going to be hit by a hurricane, and I was right. It was a beautiful weekend. And then the third time, he protested that I reshoot scenes, that I was reshooting scenes that I restructured. So he was like a big fucking pain in the ass I had to deal with. But everybody else was on my side. See, if you feel, this is a question here. How effectively would you be able to work knowing your crew was in full-scale mutiny? Or questioned everything you said and did. How good of a job do you think you would do? I don't think you would do a very good job either.
Well, you're right. I wouldn't, but I would have commanded the authority by doing my job competently to, even if I was faking it till I made it, to get them to. To me, he didn't conduct himself in a manner that was acceptable for being the director of that movie. And that really just set the tone for everybody else to run amok.
Well, yeah, okay.
And you cannot do that. It just doesn't work that way. You are the leader of the show. You're the one that is making the decisions. And if you set a tone that says I don't care, I'm lackadaisical about things that are supposed to matter.
I don't know where you're getting that though. I don't know where you're getting the I don't care aspect of it, because I think he did care. It's just he didn't do it in a way that I guess maybe other people do.
If
it's your money, you care.
It's like there's this weird dichotomy with him. Like there's half of him that cares immensely about this project, and there's another half that has to at least pretend that he doesn't. And it's weird because that's the outward side that he was showing to his crew, and you can't do that and still command respect. It just doesn't work.
The only thing I agree that what he should have done was fired them on the spot and made sure they never got another job again for their behavior. That's commanding a certain amount of authority. He didn't do that. He bitched and he moaned and he whined. You know, and a director who whines is an unattractive thing. That's not good. He should have, if he really wanted to, he should have grabbed the bull by the horns. It's his money. You won't get paid. You're fired. Get out. I don't want to hear your bullshit. Just fucking do your job, whatever. That's what he should have done. I firmly believe that. But instead, he chose to whine. He chose to threaten. He chose, you know.
Well, if he did do that, at least he could have started over and maybe, you know, commanded some respect with the second crew.
But the second crew was just as, oh my God, the second crew. Like, these are fucking film students, for God's sake. You know, I mean, it's like, okay, well,
I'm
let
saying
me get
if
into
he
this.
did fire everybody, he, you know, but yeah.
Hey, Denny.
Chris R., I've been looking for you.
Yeah, sure you have. You have my money, right?
Yeah, it's coming. It'll be here in a few minutes.
Where's my money?
Just give me 5 minutes.
You want 5 fucking minutes, eh? You know what? I haven't got 5 fucking minutes!
Where's my fucking money, Denny? Did you use my fucking money?
I swear to God, it's coming.
Where's my fucking money, Danny?
Put the gun down.
My fucking money! Where's my fucking money, Danny?
Look at this guy. Get on.
Fucker! Fucking dead, Danny! Shut up!
What's going on?
Shut up! Danny!
Let's take him to the police.
Fucking dead!
What did that man want from you?
Nothing.
Oh, that was not nothing.
Tell me everything.
You have no idea what kind of trouble you're in here, do you?
I owe him some money.
What kind of money?
I owe him some money.
What kind of money?
Everything is okay. He's gone.
Everything is not okay. Denny, that is a dangerous man.
Calm down. He's going to jail.
Denny, what kind of money? Just tell me.
What do you need money for?
Mom, please. Denny's with me and Johnny.
A man like that, with a gun. My God.
Denny, look at me in the eyes and tell me the truth.
I bought some drugs off of him. Things got mixed up. I didn't mean for this to happen. I don't have them anymore.
What kind of drugs, Denny?
It doesn't matter. I don't have them anymore.
It doesn't matter. How in the hell did you get involved with drugs? What, were you giving them to him, selling them to him? Where in the hell did you meet that man?
What kind of drugs do you take?
It's nothing like that.
What the hell is wrong with you?
I just needed some money to pay off some stuff.
How much do you have to give him?
This is not the way you make money.
How much?
Stop ganging up on me.
They would, I mean, like Burns and Sawyer did a really good job of trying to cover him, you know, which is good. I mean, I've worked with Burns and Sawyer. I've worked a lot of their stuff. I don't understand. Okay, well, I'll talk about this now. The camera crew quits. You know, they fucking walk out. Whoever this guy Raphael is, right? And I could just consider it a form of amateur hour bullshit because they didn't like his attitude, right? Considering I've never heard of these people, okay, and I do keep tabs on film production. I know a lot of names. You know, and I have to assume the kind of work they do is terrible. There are some badly framed shots in the film, some soft shot, out of focus camera work, and then there are continuity errors, which does come down to Sandy and all the so-called pros. They suck, and they have no excuse for their bitching. So I have absolutely no sympathy for their tantrums. So they bring in, Burns and Sawyer brings in a younger crew of film students, and almost immediately they start mouthing off to Tommy. They haven't even been there. They're acting like they're a fucking army of Conrad Halls and Vilma Sigmunds and Sven Nykvist. I remember, okay, this triggered a memory for me. Reading the book was very cathartic for me because I was trying to put together a project, and I didn't know whether I wanted 35 or the best HE quality I could find, right? Mm-hmm. The prices were actually almost identical at that point. And I interviewed this very young DP. He couldn't have been 25 at the time, or maybe 20. He was maybe about 21 or 22. And he was insistent that he be allowed to shoot my movie the way he wanted. And I told him basically, fuck you, this is my movie. I'm paying you, do what I tell you to do. Use these lenses, use this kind of film stock, that kind of stuff. And I guess he wasn't used to dealing with directors who knew the ins and outs of everything. Mm-hmm. You know, how many lights do we need? We're shooting in practical locations. What kind of gaff, where are we going to put the tape? What kind of makeup effects and all that stuff. And he couldn't agree to that. He couldn't agree to letting me direct my movie. He wanted to direct my movie, and he wanted to get paid to do it. I'm like, fuck you, get out of here. And to my knowledge, he's not getting any work either. Mm-hmm. If you're not careful, when you're dealing with these so-called pros, they'll drain you dry. suggesting items you don't need to pad their bill. They're the ones getting paid in the end, you know?
Right.
So you have to be very careful about that. And obviously, Tommy not very careful about anything, really.
No.
But these fucking film students, this kid throws a towel at Tommy. The whole story I think had to do with a generator.
Right.
He said, we need a generator. Now, Burns and Sawyer, I know for a fact, rents and leases out generators. They have an entire selection of generators for anything.
Right.
All you have to do is go over, grab that guy, the guy who was in charge of the production from Burns and Sawyer, Peter Amway, I think. Peter, I need a generator. Fine. But, I guess Tommy didn't do it, or maybe he did it. But the thing is, this kid throws a towel at Tommy, and he says, Tommy, you're a fucking liar. And he's like, I'm like, what is his problem? I mean, number one, you're being paid. I know I'm harping on that. But it's an incredibly big deal. Okay, that's another thing, Andrew. It's an incredibly big deal to be paid in this business. Most people do it for exposure. They do it so it will lead to bigger jobs and more money. You do your job, especially if you're a fucking little piece of shit film school asshole. You do your job and be quiet. Yet Sestero calls Tommy's behavior the ugliest he had ever seen. What did Tommy do? This kid is screaming at him, and Tommy's just listening to him. All he did was keep from strangling that kid, and that's what I would have fucking done.
Okay.
He showed remarkable restraint with this little twat. It's unbelievable. I mean, I do suspect that this kid just wanted to leave, so he staged this incident.
Well,
it all felt remarkable,
that
really
sounds
staged.
Reasonable, yeah. But but that specific instance doesn't get Tommy off the hook for all the times that he brought it on himself.
No, probably not. But do you go to your boss and say, you're a liar? No, you don't do that.
No, you don't. That guy did it, and it was fucking stupid.
I asked Bronwyn the other day, I said, would you go to your boss's office and say, you're a fucking liar, and throw a towel at her? And she'd be like, no.
Yeah, I did that yesterday. What are you talking about? I do it every Friday.
What I didn't like was that the stupid thing about the revolt was that nobody backed Tommy. Somebody should have backed him. Greg didn't back him up. Greg should have backed him up. Somebody should have backed him up. Instead, it was like 30 people against one. It's not fair. Somebody should back somebody up on that. I've had people back me up when other people are starting shit with me.
Well, Greg is not. He wasn't going to back Tommy because he's embarrassed by him, and that's one of his problems with him. Is that, and it's one of
he's
really,
a kid.
Really, Sestero's problems with himself is that he's overly embarrassed by the actions of other people.
Yeah, he really is, and he doesn't have that kind of courage that's required. You got to be brave. I mean, Burns and Sawyer didn't even back him up. They did their best to try and back him up, but they didn't really get in there and say, "Okay, everybody, calm down. You go to your corner. We'll go over here. Let's have a cup of coffee, and we'll just figure this shit out. Let's just do that." Instead, everybody was looking at Tommy like he was a massive head wound or something, like a train wrecker. It's like Tommy against the world. And I really, at this point that I get to in the book, I have to commend Greg for telling the truth in that way. He does not paint himself in the best light throughout the book.
Women change their minds all the time.
You must be kidding, aren't you?
Look, I don't want to talk about it. I'm going to go upstairs and wash up and go to bed.
How dare you talk to me like that? You should tell me everything.
I can't talk right now.
Why, Lisa? Why, Lisa? Please talk to me, please. You're part of my life. You are everything. I could not go on without you, Lisa.
You're scaring me.
You are lying. I never hit you. You are tearing me apart, Lisa.
Why are you so hysterical?
Do you understand life? Do you?
This is what you said early on. He doesn't paint himself as he comes across as clueless, as idiotic, as sometimes he's a sniveling little prick, and other times he's a piece of California plywood. He's not particularly loyal. He shuns Tommy when he gets a gig. Okay, this is very interesting to me because Bronwyn and I had differing opinions about this, and maybe you have it too. Tommy gets a gig. I mean, Tommy. He gets a gig. I called him an emotional vampire, and Bronwyn says, but Tommy's an emotional vampire too.
He is.
So they're both emotional vampires, apparently. But I don't think he feeds off of Tommy's loneliness, and I don't think he understands empathy, and he has no social courage. Tommy basically befriends him, encourages him. He's like an unpaid life coach for this inadequate kid who seems to have mommy issues. He definitely has mommy issues.
He does, and I think he pretty much admits that. I mean, he comes clean with it in the book, really. I think that Sestero is aware and to me that really shone through like of how thankful he is for what Tommy has done for him. But that doesn't mean that there aren't these sides of Tommy and things that Tommy does that drive him crazy or
Tommy
make him
Tommy
embarrassed.
has some. Yeah, definitely.
So it was kind of life is complicated. Just because you have great respect for somebody doesn't mean that you don't fucking hate their guts half the time.
That's interesting. I never really thought of it that way, but you're probably right. But he enables Greg to have so much. I mean, he gives him an apartment at a reduced rent in Los Angeles.
Oh yeah, no, he's great.
Which enables him to start an acting career, which is more than this kid deserves because he's a terrible actor. He's a good-looking guy that I would limit to modeling work, but not. I wouldn't put him in acting. I would put him in modeling work. He has a great face, and he wears clothes very well, and he looks like he belongs in a Calvin Klein ad, in an issue of Vanity Fair or something. That's where he belongs.
Yeah.
But he hides an enormous amount of antipathy and hostility for Tommy. And I know brilliant actors. I know some really incredible actors who never got a shot in Hollywood. It's very hard. He actually got a gig, and he's gotten a couple of like little bits. Like he was in the movie Patch Adams, but nobody could see him. So his agent told him not to list it as a credit, which I thought was hilarious.
Right.
I've worked with there was one actor who was in a scene from the movie Good Will Hunting. But it was cut from the movie, but it's in the deleted scenes on the DVD, so you can actually see it. But he put it on his resume, and I didn't have a problem with that. But it seems that when I'm ready to forgive him for his behavior, he pulls out this most ridiculous analogy I've ever read. He compares himself to Jude Law's character in The Talented Mr. Ripley, with Tommy, of course, being the psychotic Matt Damon character in the piece. Right.
Right.
I wanted to punch him in his face when he did that. That is so narcissistic. It's not even. I mean, I feel like
that movie bored the shit out of me, so I never made it through. So
it's like Jude Law wants to. Matt Damon wants to be Jude Law's character.
Right.
He thinks so. Greg thinks that Tommy wants to be him in some way. Maybe he covets his looks or his. I guess I don't know. Something about that.
Well, if anything, I would say that would be true because I think a major part of Tommy Wiseau is his vanity, and and part of that is because he didn't achieve the financial success in his other business ventures to get him to the point where he could do this film stuff that he always wanted to do until he was already past his prime physically. So in that respect, I bet you $1 million that he wishes he was the younger and better looking Craig Sestero. But that doesn't mean that he doesn't want his brain in Craig Sestero's head, because he doesn't want to be Craig Sestero in every way. But I'm sure that there are some things about Craig Sestero that he would like to be. Like to have.
But the sick joke of all of this is that Greg's claim to fame, his only claim to fame, is his friendship with Tommy. That's really it. That's all he'll be remembered for. So he has like these detailed descriptions of Tommy's eccentric behavior, and Greg amplifies them for the purposes of entertainment. And it's just mockery and making Tommy an easy punchline to every story he begins. Tommy's already rich, so why is he doing this? Short answer, he wants respect. Why is Greg doing this? Short answer, he wants to get away from his mother. That's all I took from it, from their motivations for doing what they did.
Yeah.
And I was thinking of this old Dutch expression. I can't repeat it in the original Dutch, you'll forgive me, but translated in English, it's basically, you are what you accuse others of being, or you are what you accuse, something like that.
Right.
And that's what I think of Sestero. I mean, he gets a big, meaty part in the Puppet Master movie. He has Iris Burton, who I've heard of her. I know her, for an agent, and he can't get any work. What does that tell you? Right?
Right.
And then if anybody else comes over as excessively prickish, it has to be Sandy, the script supervisor. I cannot stand this guy. And I understand Seth Rogen is playing him in the movie.
Right.
As written in the book, he should be the Darth Vader of the piece. Because, and then, he doesn't. He walks off this movie. And I love that he demanded co-director credit for a movie he absolutely hated. He is such a fucking prick, I swear to God.
Really?
He leaves the movie. Sandy leaves the movie.
Mm-hmm.
Claiming to have a job lined up with Janusz Kaminski, Spielberg cinematographer and really one of the greatest cinematographers in history. He claims to have this job, but I can find no evidence he ever worked for Kaminski. I've done every cross-reference I could, found no reference for any movie they might have worked on together. So, in the words of the little twat film student who shouted at Tommy, Sandy, you're a fucking liar. Given that pretty much everybody who worked on The Room was absolutely terrible, or at least subpar, how would Kaminsky ever want to work with him?
Yeah, really. I know.
It really hit me hard. You said, read this book, you're going to love it. And I was like, I'm reading this, and I just want to kill these fuckers.
Didn't mean to trouble you, but I mean... I think it kind of did change your outlook on The Room a little bit. Certainly from
okay. This is like, okay. Now watching, I mean, like The Room, I this is something I don't get. I don't understood it. Maybe you do to some extent, but Sestero is talking about these two fans who almost single-handedly turned The Room into a midnight movie. They made it a cult hit.
Yeah,
promoting it as a genuine bad film. Yeah, to identify a movie as bad would be like an intensely subjective experience. Especially you and me. We talk about movies, right?
Yeah.
There are some movies that I absolutely love that you think are pieces of shit, and vice versa.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of people think Blade Runner is a terrible movie. I personally hate Citizen Kane. I'm not into comic books. I don't know what another person's idea of a bad movie is because I'm not that other person,
I always
right?
thought Blade Runner was mostly a crushing bore. It starts off really good, it ends really good. The middle is just crushing, fucking boring. Like, for me, I don't really like it, but I know a lot of people do.
Yeah, it's considered an incredible film.
I don't.
It's
like
not considered
Stanley Kubrick. Like,
yeah, I know you don't like Stanley. I think the man is God. I mean,
Yeah.
practically, if God had a camera. And if anyone ever talked, see Kubrick, you talked about authority. You talked about commanding authority as a filmmaker. John Huston can command authority. Stanley Kubrick, John Ford, Billy Wilder, William Wyler, Alfred Hitchcock, Spielberg. This is like his first movie. I don't know.
Howie Deutsch can command fucking authority on a set because you know what? He gets his movies done, made, and he gets another one.
The movie.
He commands some authority. Okay.
But you can start a movie. A lot of times, movies are never finished. I mean, it's like it's an extremely complicated, difficult undertaking. He did it. Tommy Wiseau did it. He made this movie.
He did.
So we're watching this movie, and I think even Bronwyn's like, no. I mean, I asked her, is this the worst movie I've ever seen? She's like, no. I can name 100 movies that are far worse than The Room before I even get to The Room. I mean, it's like you have to, I guess, because this was not financed by a studio. It was not given a $40 million budget or a $100 million budget. This is just a guy with his pocket change who just wanted to do something. And I really, I'm with you. In the respect for Tom, I have enormous respect, and I feel bad because to him, The Room is the greatest movie ever made.
Yeah,
I mean, it's like this is what he wanted to do. This is the kind of, when you're making a movie, it's what you want to see. You're making a movie in the passion sense of the word. You're making a movie that you yourself would want to see.
Yeah, and my heart really goes out to him that he put his heart and soul into this story that everybody laughs at, and he has to get up every day and kind of go out and be famous for something that he didn't want. He wants to be famous for the movie, but he doesn't want to be famous for people laughing at it. And so I think there's been that's the reason why he hasn't done much afterwards, is because he's still coming to terms with that blow of everybody wanting to laugh at his serious work.
That's why I'm thinking that he has his gear. He gets good people. People will be willing to work for him.
Right.
And he could actually try to make a good movie. He could do this. He can do this.
I don't know.
I think The Room could be, what's wrong with
try that,
education?
or he'll try and recreate The Room. I don't know. Yeah, if he does try and continue to make his dream projects, I think he'll probably make even more hilarious stuff that everybody will love and think is fucking awesome. But if he tries to recreate The Room, he's going to fail. It's going to be terrible.
Well, I had a perverse thought. I was thinking I would love to remake The Room, but do it straight. Like rewrite the script, get good actors. I mean, the one thing that really bugs me as a filmmaker is that it costs $6 million and it only has like 1 or 2 interior locations.
There's
and then he goes out.
Not that money on the screen at all.
No money on the screen. No money on the screen. And it's like, I mean, like I could make that movie over a weekend for beer money. I mean, I really could. But he has this crazy idea of how Hollywood works. He thinks Hollywood is green screens, right? He builds an alley set, and he says, "What?" And the guy says, "Why don't we just shoot in the actual alley?" And he says, "This is Hollywood. You don't get Hollywood filmmaking, you know. I mean, and Hollywood is about green screens and it's really bad. I mean, it's he has this idea of how movies should be made, and this is apparently how he thinks they should be. Movies are made with chewing gum and spit. They always have been. I mean, yeah, we have computers getting into it, and lots of action movies with, you know, roundhouse slow motion kicks and walking slowly away from explosions, like I'm always complaining about. But movies are still made in that kind of like bare knuckle way with little disparate elements all coming together and trying to make a good movie under those terms, under those conditions. But Tommy thinks just throw money at things, just throw money. It's very much kind of a Hollywood. That is a Hollywood sensibility, is to throw money at everything.
It is indeed. Oh, by the way, when you were doing Tommy's accent there, it reminded me of for the folks out there who want to read the book but don't have a lot of time. The audiobook is read by Sestero. And whenever he's doing Tommy's lines, whatever Tommy says, he does it in his voice, and it makes it very good.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's really good. It makes it for a really good audiobook. So if you're an audiobook kind of person, it's a good one to get as an audiobook.
Bullshit! I did not hit her. I did not. Oh, hi, Mark.
Oh, hey, Johnny, what's up?
I have a problem with Lisa. She said that I hit her.
What? Well, did you?
No, it's not true. Don't even ask. What's new with you?
Well, I'm just sitting up here thinking, you know. I got a question for you.
Yeah.
You think girls like to cheat like guys do?
What makes you say that?
I don't know. I'm just thinking.
I don't have to worry about that because Lisa's loyal to me.
Yeah, man, you never know. People are very strange these days. I used to know a girl. She had a dozen guys. One of them found out about it, beat her up so bad she ended up in a hospital on Guerrero Street.
What a story, Mark.
Yeah, you can say that again.
And we're back.
So now and we're back. That's great. We had to interrupt this for a couple of weeks. Andrew saw the movie, The Disaster Artist, starring and directed by James Franco, with his brother Dave Franco playing the part of Craig Sestero, James Franco playing the part of Tommy Wiseau.
What do we got? Los Angeles, everybody want to be star. You have to be the best and never give up.
When I get up on stage in front of people, all I can think about is, what if they laugh at me? You, man, you're fearless. I want to feel that too.
I don't care. I'll do it. You and me, we both have this dream.
Yeah, I guess we do.
That we'll be famous. We'll show them. Watch out, here we come. To be or not to be?
It's not going to happen for you. Not in a million years.
But after that, this town, Greg, they don't want me.
Wish we could just make our own movie.
That's a great idea. So there's this guy, Johnny, a true American hero, to be played by me. He has it all. Good luck, many friends, and also maybe Johnny is vampire. We'll see.
This set of the alleyway looks exactly like the real alleyway.
That's right.
Well, why don't we just shoot in the real alleyway?
Because it's a real Hollywood movie.
No, yeah, sounds good.
Okay.
Action!
I did not hit her. I did not. Oh, hi, Mark.
But it doesn't work if you're looking at the camera.
And then this beautiful girl, anything for my princess. She betrayed him. And then this guy, Johnny, he go crazy. Nobody respect my vision. You are a villain. I do this whole movie for you, Greg. You are tearing me apart, Lisa.
Cut.
Why you cut, Sandy? This is great. This is real acting.
If you're gonna writhe around with the dress, maybe do it before you shoot yourself in the head and blow your brains out.
I disagree.
You're really gonna make this thing?
We are going to go together.
Tommy, this is not necessary.
No, very necessary. I need to show my ass to sell this movie.
I think you're aiming a little bit.
I am what I am. Just do the scene.
Why is he having sex with her belly button? He knows where her vagina is, right?
Hi, doggy.
So, what did you think of
I
the
thought
movie?
it was really good. I had some misgivings about it, just because it just I question whether or not it really appeals to anybody who didn't read the book or really know The Room.
Yes.
And to anybody outside that world, I don't know whether it really crosses over into that, you know, to normies who don't know anything about these subjects. But it was a lot of fun. It was really well done. They deviated from the book a little bit, and I thought that the way that the book unfolded in flashback was perfect for a cinematic adaptation, but they didn't follow that. And I thought that was perhaps a mistake in some respects. They changed a couple of things around, and they decided to focus on, and as particularly at the end, tell us what great friends Craig Sestero and Tommy Wiseau are, and how they talk on the phone every day, and you know that they continue to work together. Now we know they've got this best friends movie coming out, but these two guys, like Craig Sestero, I don't think that he. It's clear that he has a tremendous amount of respect for Tommy Wiseau in certain ways, but I don't think he really likes Tommy Wiseau that much.
Right. That was kind of what I was feeling when I was reading the book. I felt that he had some level of hostility for Tommy because there's something about Tommy that's in him.
Like they took out all the stuff about how he didn't want. Well, I think he's jealous of what Tommy has, how Tommy's tenacity. I think he admires it. I don't know, jealous is the right word, but he admires it, and he sees it, and he wants to learn from it. Like Tommy has something that he wants to learn from, and perhaps now
he might covet. Yeah, he might covet his tenacity.
Yes, covet
as it were. But that's what all filmmakers have. Filmmakers, well, the ones who finish their projects, you start a project, you finish it. There's so many people out there who try to make movies and then just stop because it's just too difficult for them.
Right.
And Greg is kind of shiftless in that way. He doesn't really.
And in creating this change from the book and adding that to the movie, they've taken out, you know, the idea that Wiseau had to bribe him basically to do The Room in the first place
by buying him a car.
Yeah, he bought him a car, and he gave him like a ton of money to do the role, and they took that they took that all out of the movie, in order to make it seem like they were like close friends forever and stuff. And that's fine.
That's an interesting choice, though.
Not close friends forever.
I don't
they
think
were getting to know each other in a movie, but like closer friends than they were.
I don't think Greg would have done it had Tommy not, offered him those incentives.
Yeah, no, I think he thought it was a piece of shit, didn't want to do it, and he was trying to make his career work, and he thought it wouldn't be good for his career.
Tommy did assume, I guess, because he felt like he was communicating his message to maybe the cast and crew. He felt that the cast and crew could kind of fill in the gaps of what he wasn't explaining to them, and that they would somehow do it. And a lot of because of the unprofessional behavior of a lot of the crew that were involved, it shocked him. He was upset. He didn't understand their attitude. He didn't understand, but the thing is, Greg doesn't really understand the attitude either.
No.
He doesn't understand a lot of things that are happening. He's very new at he's completely unprepared for all of this. So I do think that Tommy he assumed too much.
Maybe. I mean, also Tommy's a neophyte as well. I mean, he's new to all this. So, like
I was thinking about my own experience, and I was thinking the reason I got people to do whatever I wanted them to do for my movies is because I communicated to them. I had conversations with them. I sat down with them. Tommy wasn't really like that. He was existing in this vacuum where he assumed that I'm the director and just do everything.
Right.
That's it. I always explain. I try to explain to people, and I'm very good at the language,
and
as you are, as most of us are.
Show up
and he's
4 hours late. Your own shoot, and then tell everybody.
No, I was there. I was the first one there, and the last one.
Yeah, exactly.
On my movie, and he wasn't.
And that's like
he was a rock star. He wanted to be a rock star.
That really sets a tone for everybody else's involvement in the movie. It's like if the guy at the top is not giving it his all, or not appearing to give it his all.
Not appearing to give it all.
Yeah.
So what can you tell me about Franco's performance?
What can I tell you about what?
What can you tell me about Franco's performance?
Oh, it was good. I mean, he's James Franco still. James Franco with a weird accent.
Well, when I showed the trailers to Bronwyn, and Bronwyn's an actress, and she admires James Franco. She really likes his work, and she was watching his performance as Tommy, and she was saying, "This is not an interpretation of Tommy Wiseau. It seems more like it's an impersonation of Tommy Wiseau."
It really is more than anything else. He gets a couple, and he loses the accent at some points because he just doesn't quite have it 100%.
He forgets the accent.
Yeah, not that he forgets it. It's just that he get it wrong. It's got to be hard to be able to do every line in that accent, I would imagine.
I don't know. You got to watch the movie. And suddenly you're talking like Tommy.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. But
it's like what they were doing riff tracks
lines that aren't in the movie that he's maybe never heard Tommy Wiseau say. I would have had Tommy Wiseau on the set being like, "Yo, say this line."
Yeah. How would you do it this way? Would you do it like this? I would not do it like that. I would not. I would be big American. I would be big American style. You don't understand American style. It's like that. It would be like that. It's kind of like how you're watching riff tracks.
Yeah.
And they are nailing Tommy's accent as they're watching the movie. It's like, they're like, "Oh, hi, doggy. Oh, hi, streetcar. Oh, hi, credits." It's like that. They're like they manage to, and you can do it. Everyone, you can get anyone. You can pull somebody off the street, have them watch The Room. They'll be imitating Tommy within 5 minutes.
It's true. It's true. Yeah. But still, I think, we all think that, and we can all repeat things that we've heard Tommy say, but when you're doing like new lines from a script and you have to do them in Tommy's voice, it is a little harder. I give him some credit there. I have to give him cut him some slack. But
you say it follows. You say it follows the narrative of the book, right? But it doesn't follow it in the flashback way. It only goes from point A to point B.
Yeah, it only goes from point. It doesn't do the whole thing. It stays away from their own. It really tries to make them closer friends than they are in the book.
They come off more as rivals in the book.
Yeah, and if you know anything about the story, you've been following it. Tommy didn't want to talk to him for a long ass time. They did interviews together that you can watch on YouTube, and they were not friendly.
Was this like immediately after the movie or after the book?
Immediately, but during the phase when Tommy was still, I think that's an ongoing phase, but when he was really having trouble with people laughing at the movie.
He probably felt like he was personally kind of insulted for a while until he decided, I guess, to turn it around and make it seem as though it was a comedy or something.
Yeah.
If anything, the movie, the thing about The Room is it may be like a really bad movie or something, but it inspires feelings in you. It's like
can't stop
you care. You kind of care about what you're watching.
You have to know. It's like a train wreck. You can't stop watching it.
My wife did her book club for the book of The Disaster Artist. She did it 2 weeks ago, I think. She said only a couple of people really understood kind of like the ins and outs of filmmaking. A lot of people were mainly kind of interested in Tommy's bizarre behavior. That's really all they cared about. And I was like sympathetic to Tommy because I said, when you get to that book club, can you please, you work with movies with me. Tell them just how difficult it is actually to get people to do things. And, you try to be an advocate a little bit for Tommy. And, my wife's very soft-spoken. You've met her. So she's not going to be like, well, I fucking disagree with your point of view, asshole.
Fuck you.
You don't know anything about movies.
Your mother.
What are you doing here? No, you can do it in the Tommy Wiseau voice too. It's like you know nothing of cinema. You know nothing of cinema. You know nothing of the passion of the yelling. They took based on the trailer. It just looks like they took like the more hilarious aspects, which is like him coming out onto the roof, going, "I did not hit her. I did not." And then they get it right, and then they, it's just like it took 30 takes for them to get that one line. It's his own script, and he couldn't get it right. So.
And well, my only issue.
Also, the ass. I have to show my ass to sell this movie.
Presence in any movie has begun to annoy me to a great degree, and I don't know why, because I don't dislike him. It's just that that one.
I understand. No, I know exactly. Comedy today is not that funny.
It isn't, and I see him as like the face of that, and it bothers me.
Is he as an unlikable douche in the movie as he is in the book? So they made him more likable because it's
made him more Seth Rogen-ish, and it's really a smaller smaller character. It's there, it's going on, but like he's actually more agreeable than he was in the book.
What about all the crew revolt? Like the 3 times the crew revolt.
They don't have three revolts in the movie at all. There isn't a lot of the crew totally revolting. There's some of it, but there's not. It's not as made as big a deal. I guess they made a conscious decision to not get into the weeds of film business stuff.
You mentioned before that this kind of material is not going to draw in crowds unless they're interested in The Room or they're interested in Tommy Wiseau. They read the book, and it's a very limited kind of audience.
I think the audience is pretty limited. I really do. Which is, it's a vanity project, I guess. I mean, I can't imagine anybody greenlighting this thinking it's going to make a ton of money.
Well, I think, it's obvious that Franco kind of sees a little bit of himself in Wiseau, or Wiseau in himself.
Yeah, and I'm glad that they made it.
Like
Don't get me wrong. I'm not criticizing the decision or anything. I'm just, I don't think that it has crossover appeal into audiences that aren't familiar with the with what we're talking about.
There are a couple of movies that come to mind when you think about the disaster artist. One of them for me is Ed Wood, the Tim Burton movie.
Yes.
Now, in Ed Wood, Tim Burton he immortalizes Ed Wood and his movies, the things that he did, and he pays tribute to Ed Wood. It's like this is a guy who was under the radar. He had no money. He was inspired, to quote Terry Gilliam, he was inspired but not talented.
Right.
That's how I put it. I have a kind of a love for Ed Wood because I understand the drive. If you really want to make movies and you're fighting with people who are laughing at you most of the time or something like that. And would you say that like the disaster artist does it pay tribute to Tommy the way that Ed Wood pays tribute to Ed Wood? And also Ed Wood. Can I one more thing? Yeah. Ed Wood is a fantastic movie. I love that movie.
I do too. I like it too. It's one of my favorite Tim Burton movies, if not the favorite.
It's a fantastic. Oh God, it's a wonderful movie. Please, everyone out there, please see Ed Wood. It's a great movie. But would you put it? How would you compare the two?
I had not considered that. They're very, very different. Like Ed Wood is like a whole movie to pay tribute like to Ed Wood, and I think that this is more. I mean,
does this movie make more fun of Wiseau? Does it make fun of Wiseau?
It certainly makes a lot more fun of him than Tim Burton does of Ed Wood. It's not all reverence for Tommy in this movie. It shows some of his bad side and his weirdness.
I guess to wrap this up, let's talk a little bit about this new movie that will be coming out. It's called Best Friends, but the R is in parentheses, so it looks like Best Fiends. Like Werner Herzog's story about Klaus Kinski, he did a thing called Best Fiends.
Really?
And this is it's written by Craig Sestero, and it's based on a road trip, I guess, between Sestero and Tommy Wiseau, and I guess he took his dialogue and changed it around so they're different characters.
Right.
So I think it's meant to be kind of a kooky thing, and also it's definitely meant to capitalize on the disaster artist now being a movie.
Right. Which is great, so I wish him luck, and I want to check it out.
This is something that seems perfect for Netflix.
Tommy with some direction into what he can do going forward, because I know he's real confused about it.
Now, the director Justin McGregor. I mean, can you imagine Tommy going, Justin?
Yeah.
You have a beautiful name and you're beautiful eyes, but you know nothing.
This is Hollywood movie.
This looks like but I gotta say, this does look very interesting. It looks like something that Netflix will release. It doesn't look like anything that'll come out in the theater.
Well, I mean, who knows? But yeah, maybe Netflix or a limited theatrical release. Who knows?
So, final thoughts on the disaster artist and the phenomenon that is Tommy Wiseau.
Well, I'm a fan. I've been in on it for a while now, and in the world of The Room and Tommy Wiseau for some time now, and I'm glad that they made this movie. I enjoyed going to it. It was something that my wife and I were both like excited to go to for a long time. We were waiting for it, and it was fun. It was a lot of fun, and I'm glad it came along. I am curious to see what this is going to do to change Tommy Wiseau's path forward, because his path has been very confused since the received.
Don't you feel that you kind of want to sit him down and talk to him? Like discuss film theory and story and conflict and character resolution and things like that, and performance.
I'm good.
Okay, you're good. I feel like I want to talk to him about cinema, because I want to know. He thinks James Dean is the shit, and I never really cared for James Dean myself. Yeah. He was only in 3 films, you know. That's sort of like his thing. He's like, it's all about James Dean. And I what I want to do is I want to show him, like, I don't know. I want to show him Raging Bull. I want to show him Mean Streets. I want to show him movies that don't look like Hollywood movies. Clint Eastwood, a Dirty Harry. You know, Dirty Harry, the gritty Dirty Harry that we talk about.
He hasn't seen Dirty Harry?
I don't think he has. I don't think he understands that you take a camera, you go out there, and you make a movie. You don't necessarily have to create a facade. You know, you don't have to create a fake roof. Find a roof. You know, the filmmaker finds shit and makes a movie out of it. You know, that's a great filmmaker right there who does that. He wouldn't
take that advice from you, because you know what?
It's like, you don't know what you're talking about. It's all about lights and makeup. And
I mean, there's got to be some sort of experience in his life and business and stuff that he's taken this from, where the production has to be on point. Yeah. It has to be of a certain size, or nobody's going to listen to it. Nobody's going to take it seriously.
I don't know. I feel like he only read like 2 books about making movies, and they were like from the golden age where you had studios and you had to build your reality in that studio. I think that's what he thinks movies are. That's, you know, it's all about artifice. It's completely constructed. There's no reality to it whatsoever. It's like the Wizard of Oz. It's like a complete fantasy land. That's how he views movies. And the best movies aren't always made that way. You know, you go on like location. You know, you get out there. You're with the people, and you're kind of putting this together in that way. You know, there are great studio films that are still being made, but there are great movies that are out there because somebody turned on a camera and said, "This looks interesting," and that's what Tommy should know. I feel like he should know this, and I want him to know it.
Well,
so I think you and me should get him, put him at a table, and have some whiskey with Clint Eastwood, and he can school Tommy. I guess let's wrap this up. This has been a lot of fun, and I got to say, you know, I've changed my mind about a lot of things with regard to
cool
with the room and with Tommy and with all that. I understand that it's very important to him and it's very special, and that makes a lot of sense to me. That really does. And then possibly even Greg, because originally if you rewind this, you'll hear a lot of me bitching Greg out. I understand that these are stories of the human condition, and they're needed, they're necessary.
Yeah,
it's necessary to know. It's something that we don't hear about that much often, which is people's ignorance sort of coming out there.
That's true.
And being public, being made public.
Although we see it all the time, we just like have people covering up for it.
We see it, but nobody admits to it.
It's true. Look at the news media. Yeah. God.
Yeah.
Talk about fucking ignorance. God.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
Oh no. Obviously we just lost the satellite feed. That sucks.
Oh,
yes.
Lord.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, that's another show. Yeah.
Hallelujah! Holy shit! Where's the Tylenol?
All right. And thanks for listening, and thanks, Andrew. And this has been a lot of fun.
Thank you for having me, and good night and Happy New Year. Oh, I got to take that away. Don't say Happy New Year. Sorry.
No. Say Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
You can say, because this is the first episode of 2018. So Happy New Year.
Happy fucking New Year. All right then.
Happy fucking New Year.
I was right the first time. Right.
You were right the first time.
That'll teach me to second guess myself. Look at that.
That'll teach you.
You have been listening to Extreme Cinema with Andrew LeGang and David Lawler.